guys, here's a short video I put together on the different ways you can express the conjunction because in Norwegian. Here's the first one that I learned, fordi, and then pretty quickly I started to notice that there were more and more of them. These are compound conjunctions right here, and you see these used all the time in newspapers and people say them, and so finally I just decided to track down as many of them as I could, and I found that if I learn them or become familiar with them all at once, they're easier for me to remember because they're all connected. They all relate to because. This is what all of these different words and compound conjunctions mean. The English word because, and it's amazing how much easier it is to read the newspaper. It helps with comprehension as well, instead of learning them one by one and just wondering just how many there are. Here it is. Here's a sentence with fordi just used. It's straight up fordi, both of these sentences. But here is interesting. This first sentence that I picked out had another compound or complex combination of two words together that mean something else. Vel, it means probably, depending on how it's used in the sentence, but these words by themselves have nothing to do with that. And again, help I've noticed in reading and learning, help Ned, help Ved, they turn help into right at, right down, right next to. And but here's fordi, that's how you use it. And let's move along. På of, that's another one, and it's kind of, spoke when it's pronounced, it's quickly, it sounds like one word, and I translated it here word for word on reason of, but really, when it's spoken, it means because of. That's what a compound conjunction does. It blends together to mean one thing, and the thought is one thought. So I like to do this because I like to know what's going on. My kids, for example, they'll just say pogranov, or they'll say whatever it takes. Like if they want a lollipop or something, they will just say the words that are required to do that. They don't even think twice. They don't even really care about grammar or anything, and they get they get corrected if it's wrong. Then they get the lollipop. But what they get is they get fluency. And this, I guess this is my best shot at improving fluency. This will help me read the paper, and that's comprehension, and it helps fluency. So being familiar with these is very, very helpful. Here it is again, grunn. Here's the root word. Grunnet, in this case, due to, is what it'll translate into, but it means because of. And av den grunn, there again, grunn, which means reason, for that reason, because of that. See? It just means the same thing. But when you see it in the paper, when I see it in the paper, I should say, I know, hopefully I'll remember that, and I can just, I'll just understand what that means, and I can keep going without stopping. Som følge of. Here's another compound conjunction that means because. It really kind of, the transmission of it is which follows from. It'll be translated to you in the form of as a result of a lot of times, but it really just means because of. And it's another way of saying it. Copy editors at newspapers are constantly doing that. They use that to, they use different compound conjunctions and forms of saying the same thing to make the, story more interesting. And here's for, which means because, like in Old English. An example of that would be for he's a jolly good fellow, you know, and it means because. It comes, you know, after the comma is a dead giveaway for that. And moving on, orsaken that the reason is, or because of, you know. There's orsak, means reason. And you'll see this in other forms too. I didn't do them all, but orsak gets thrown around like that a lot, and it can mean because. So, therefore, this is why, which means because of this. So, you know, just knowing it, I mean, I don't sit down and try to memorize all of these by heart to pass a test. The test I want to pass is to be able to comprehend the newspaper. Okay, de kommer of at. This is a cool one. It's a really cool way to say it is because. You know, it comes from that. In English, it comes from the fact that. You'll hear that's a common English phrase. And down here, da can mean when, then. And it could also mean as. And in this case, as can mean because. And in this sentence, it really means because none had objections, or as none had objections. But if you didn't know this, you may think it meant when none had objections, or then none had objections. And it's almost it's almost better just to not understand any of the sentence than it is to misunderstand it because you don't know how these words work. And you know, it's really just a matter of familiarizing yourself. It's amazing how easy they are to remember. These are much easier for me to remember than conjugating verbs. Conjugating verbs is really hard. It takes a lot of work, as there's so many of them. These are very unique, and so they're a little easier to remember. Ettersom, most of the time I've found it means since, but since also is related to because, and in this sentence that I got here, in this particular one, it meant because. And so watch out for this one. Etterson can mean either or, and of course if you split etter and some, then they mean something completely different. But in this compound form, that's what's going on there. And here, skyldes, you'll see used all the time, and it's skyld means guilt, skyldig, and then, but when you see skyldes trolig, it means it's probably due to, or is probably because of. And so you get a whole sentence where this means, you know, because. So there you go. I mean, be on the lookout for that. If anybody has any other compound conjunction phrases that mean because, or straight up single words that can mean it, it would be great if you put it in the comment section. I'd be very interested in that. But this process works for any words, and the way to really discover them is to use this word, synonymer, with the word that you want. And this is a great site right here. This Easy Trans website really delivers the synonyms big time. So I hope this helps you, and until next time, ha det bra.